Cek.
Ya, udah ngomong aja ini. We are going to start the agenda. Satu menit lagi atau gimana? Biar pas 10. Saya izin nggak master ya.
Ladies and gentlemen and friends, we're going to start the agenda in 3 minutes, so please be seated. Thank you.
Gak apa-apa kan, Dek? Suruh maju dulu. Adik-adik yang di kursi belakang mohon mengisi kursi yang ada di depan. Yang ada di 2 barisan belakang mohon mengisi kursi di depan supaya segera dimulai. Yang baru datang segera ke depan aja.
Ini dulu yang ke depan.
Ini mulai.
Yang di depan diisi supaya yang tengah di belakang. Pak, ngomong. Yang di depan diisi supaya yang di belakang.
Oke. Untuk yang di belakang bisa mengisi kursi depan. Terima kasih.
Adik-adik yang di barisan belakang mohon maju ya. Jadi nanti ada yang terlambat bisa ke belakang. Yuk, dari sini aja. Yuk maju. Maju, Dek. Yuk sini. Paling enak tuh duduk depan, ilmunya langsung masuk. Ayo, Dek. Dek, yuk maju. Udah berdiri. Maju sini. Sini aja. Sini lebih enak. Nah. Ayo, Dek. Maju. Sini, depan. Ya. Udah, yuk maju. Gak apa-apa, Dek. Situ. Maju yuk, maju. Sini. Ya nggak apa-apa. Ini nanti cum laude. Amin.
Good morning, friends. We're going to start soon. Thank you.
We're going to start in a couple of seconds. Yes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Greetings to all of us. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, and greetings of virtue. Good morning, everyone. Doctors and students of Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Brawijaya. Welcome to the guest lecture organized by the Language Laboratory in collaboration with the International Relations Office and MG English Consultant. Today's lecture topic is Conference Presentation Skills for the Academic, presented by Professor Michael Guest and moderated by Mr. Beloved Chris Mawan. Before we begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Alafia Salsabila, a pre-clinical student in Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Brawijaya, who will serve as your master remedy for today. Before we start, it's better if we pray first so today's lecture increases our knowledge and will bring benefits to us in the future. Praying according to one's own religion and belief is welcome. Amen. Indeed, there's no final words in prayer. Moving on to the next agenda, today's lecture will not be complete unless we hear some opening speeches. First up, we'll hear from the head of International Relations Office, Dr. Happy Kurnia Pramatasari, PhD. To Dr. Happy, time and place is yours.
Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. I think you already know my name. My name is Happy, and I'm also happy to be here in this opportunity as a relation office of the Faculty of Brawijaya, Faculty of Medicine Universitas Brawijaya. I would like to thank to each and every one of you for being here with us today, and also for the Department of English to organize this event. And we are very pleased to be able to welcome our Vice Dean Academic Affairs, Professor Dr. Muhammad Saifur Rahman, SPJP Consultant, PhD, and who will officially open this event on behalf of our Dean. And of course, our esteemed guest, Mr. Michael Guest from MG English Consultant. Actually, he is also my teacher when I was studying in University of Miyazaki. And he will be here with us for 2 days as a guest lecturer, and also as a practitioner who teach in our faculty. I hope that at the end of the event, everyone can gain more experience in speaking and also writing academically, especially in the field of medicine. Thank you very much, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much to Dr. Happy for the amazing speech. Next up, the second opening speech will be delivered by Professor Dr. Muhammad Saifur Rahman, a cardiologist consultant, as the Vice Dean of Academic Affairs, Faculty of Medicine, Brawijaya University. Professor Saifur, time and place is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thanks for Professor Michael Guest, who wished to attend our invitation to sharing the experience and knowledge regarding the how we present academic content in English. I know that it is actually extremely necessary for us as medical students and also for the lecturer, because it is important for us to share our experience and knowledge to others, as result in our capability, and also to let other people know that we have an ability to speak in English for academic field, because for certain ways in academic skill, it is much different to those of the usual language in English daily practice. That's why it is actually, I hope Pak Bilivan hold this event regularly, not only for the semester 2 ya, not only the younger student, but also all the civitas academica of the Brawijaya University, Faculty of Medicine, because at the near future, we like to propose our program to let you speak in English in certain area, in certain place, and in certain time. It is obligatory for you to practice in English much more. That's why actually we have actually Professor Michael. We have the mission and vision to be recognized internationally. Supposed to be many program will be proposed to let the lecturer and resident, or also the student to be useful in daily practice to speak in English in any manner. Nggak apa-apa salah-salah. As you try your best more and more, and then you might have an capability to speak in English really in also not only in academic but also in daily activity. Again, thanks so much for your coming and your expertise. Hope we can really get an insight and beneficial for our students. And hope you also teach and help us to get our capability in English speaking. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much for Prof. Saifur for the amazing speech. Before moving on to today's main event, let me lead the documentation agenda. There will be 3 photos taken. First, please, Prof. Saifur, Dr. Happy, please move forward, and other staffs to take a photo. Please.
Let's go.
Okay, next up. Bapak Ibu, please move to the student side facing the banner. Okay, thank you. Okay, please. For the students, you may stand up. Okay, thank you. Perhaps Professor Mike may take the picture with the students. Professor Mike? Do you want to take? Yeah, with the students. Okay. Do you want your pictures taken? Okay. The students may stand up again for the last documentation. Nanti ditunjukin satunya.
Enggak.
Oh enggak, nanti sebutin aja. All right. Next up, today's guest lecturer will be accompanied by Mr. Belevan Chris Mawan, Masters of Education, who will serve as your moderator for today. Mr. Belevan is currently the head of the Language Laboratory, Faculty of Medicine, Brawijaya University, and also the reviewer and associate editor of Erudio, Journal of Education Innovation. Mr. Belevan latest publications are Efektivitas Program Visiting Professor di Universitas Brawijaya Prospektif Dosen and the Internalization Program of State Universities Students' Perspective. Good morning, Mr. Belevan. How are you?
Pretty good, thank you.
Okay, great. Without further ado, we may proceed to the next agenda. To Mr. Belevan, time and place is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Olivia, for very nice introductions. Well, good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you to this guest lecture on English Conference Presentation Skill for Academics, held by the International Relations Office, Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Brawijaya. On these occasions, we shall have an outstanding presentations from our resource speaker, Professor Michael Robert Guest from MG English Consultant, Japan, whom I believe will shall enrich our insights and knowledge regarding the topic of this lecture. So before the presentation begins, allow me to introduce Professor Michael Guest. Well, have you ever wondered why we don't have enough self-confidence in speaking English, especially for academic presentations? Or you have delivered English presentations at various events, but you still feel your presentation is not satisfactory. Professor Guest will show us how to tackle the problems commonly experienced by us, the Indonesians, who are foreign learners of English and living in a non-English environments. Professor Michael Guest is originally from Canada, but has lived and worked in Japan for over 30 years. 26 of them was Associate Professor of English in the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Miyazaki, Japan. He retired from this position 6 months ago and is now Director of MG English Consultants, an English academic service. Professor Guest has a Master in Applied Linguistics from Aston University in the UK, as well as Masters in Religious Studies from Regent College, University of British Columbia, Canada. His interests include spoken English discourse, particularly within medicine and other academic scenarios. He has written 6 books, was a featured columnist in a major Japanese newspaper for 12 years, has published over 60 peers review academic papers, and has performed over 300 presentations in 22 countries. And this is his second visit to Brawijaya University. Now, professors, doctors, colleagues, students, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Professor Michael Robert Guest.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming, and a special thank you to Professor Belaven and Professor Didi, and of course, Professor Zuffair, and everybody who helped for this presentation to become a reality. Thank you for your wonderful hospitality. So, as medical students, you know that at some time in the future, you will probably have to give a research presentation in English at an international medical conference. I would say 99% that will happen. Now, you can do that, and you can go to the conference and simply give your research data and finish and come back to Brawijaya and say, I did it, it's over. But if that's all you do, probably there will be no impact. Imagine this. Let's imagine that your research is excellent research. Very high-level research. But your presentation skills are poor. Probably what will happen is the audience will stop listening to your excellent research. They will play with their smartphones. They might look at the program. Some of them might even sleep. So it's a waste of your excellent research. Let's look at the other side. Let's imagine that your research level is average, but your presentation skills are excellent. When that happens, you will convey the content of your research, but more than that, people will want to read your research paper, and there will be a greater chance for collaboration. People will say, we want to work with you. We want you to visit our lab in our university. And that's good for you. It's good for your lab. It's good for your hospital or university. It's even good for your country. So my goal today is to try and give you some ideas and some help so that you'll be able to give a good presentation in the future. Now, one warning. There's one thing that I can't teach you because I'm not good at it, and that is the technological side of giving a presentation. I'm not good at it, so I don't plan to give you tech tips, okay? Also, slide design. I'm a little old, so my slides look a little old also. I'm sure that young people like yourselves can probably do excellent slide design. So I'm not going to teach you or show you any PowerPoint tips, okay? I'm going to focus on the actual presentation skills. I'm not advancing the slide. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Okay, usually when you do a conference presentation at a medical conference, the chairperson will briefly introduce you. They will say your name, your affiliation, and the title of your presentation. And usually you don't have to say any more. In other words, you don't really need a self-introduction. However, there might be a special case. Special case is perhaps you have to introduce your lab a little bit in order to help people understand your research situation. Also, there's a special case, one that I am doing right now. I'm not here at a conference. I'm an invited guest, and I'm going to be talking with you or to you for about 90 minutes. It's a long time. And why should you trust me? Why should you believe me? I want to help you understand who I am so that you'll think he's not just some Western guy, that maybe he actually has some knowledge or skills that might be helpful. Now, earlier, Professor Bellevin gave us some information. So that's a lot of information, and that gives you some idea who I am. But let's imagine if he didn't. If you are doing a special presentation like this, maybe you would give this kind of information. You can see on the slides. Maybe, so that you trust me, I might need a little more. And this is a little dangerous. Why is this dangerous? Well, I want you to know that I have the qualifications and experience so that you'll trust me. But also, I think there's the danger that I sound proud, that I'm boasting about my experiences. So I have to keep a balance here. And that's what I'm trying to do, just so you can trust me. When you are at your medical conference, everybody knows who you are, not your name, but they know you are a doctor, they know you are in research, and so you don't have to say any more. They know you are a peer. You are a member of the same group. For me, you don't know anything. So that's why I give you this extra information. But first rule, usually you don't need a self-introduction. So now I have a question for you. I'm sure you've seen many presenters in your life, presentations. Some are good, some not so good. I'd like you to volunteer an answer. What are some of the features of good presenters or good presentations that you've heard? Anybody? Yeah, you can talk about it with a partner in Indonesian for a minute and then give me an answer in English. Okay, we have one response here, please. Okay.
Okay, so for me, a good presenter is engage with the audience.
Engage with the audience. Does that mean interact?
Yes, but like, for example, the presentation PowerPoint is just like the point, and we explain more to the audience so we can keep eye contact
Okay.
to the audience.
Okay, so engaging the audience, and that leads to another question. How do we engage an audience? I'm trying to do it right now. And she mentioned eye contact. And maybe asking questions to the audience, not question and answer, but rhetorical questions. And trying to draw the audience's interest into your topic. So engaging the audience, okay? And I'm trying to do that now physically also. Okay? Any more? What's another feature of a good presenter? Yes.
Thank you. To me, some features of or qualities of a good presenters and or a good presentation is that the presenters have the confidence that it takes to build trust from the audience to the presenter, and then they have good pronunciation and voice projections. So everything that they're talking about is delivered very clearly and without any misunderstandings. And also their body language is very important when giving presentations, because our body language explains so much of how are we qualified to talk about this, and how our content of presentation is very viable for the audience to absorb and to understand.
Okay, thank you very much. So you mentioned confidence, and that makes another question. How do we show confidence during a presentation? What are the signs that show we are a confident person? Connected to confidence is also a sense of passion about the content. If you speak like you are not really interested in the content, then your audience also will not be interested. You also mentioned pronunciation and clarity of the voice. Okay, I will talk about pronunciation a little bit later, but certainly clarity of the voice is also very important. Okay. My advancer, oh, there we go. Okay, thank you. Okay, maybe because of time, I will not ask you to answer this, but I'd like you to think about people who aren't good at presenting. Why? What are they not good at? Just think about it yourself, and actually, you can talk to somebody near you for about 30 seconds. What makes a poor presenter? You can speak Indonesian, but go ahead. Wait, I'll give you a signal. First, I'll try myself, see what happens. Oh, there we go. I got it. I just have to be close, maybe. Range. Okay. Please come back. Okay. One of the problems I've seen with poor presenters is they often don't understand or they're not sensitive to their audience. Who is their audience? And there is an audience. It's very different talking to yourself in the mirror in your hotel room and actually engaging an audience. So always when you are doing a presentation, please ask yourself, who is this audience? I did it today. I know that most of you are about 19, maybe 20 years old, first-year medical students. So I know you don't have a lot of medical knowledge yet, and maybe not a lot of world experience. You are not native speakers of English, so I have to consider that. And I have to consider your future, that you will be giving some kind of presentation in the future. So here's a rule. Always suit the style and the content to the audience. Always find out who your audience is. Okay? And finally, 200 people. There are 200 people here today, and some on Zoom. It's a very different style if there are only 10 or 15 people. If there's only 10 or 15, I can learn your name and talk to you individually. 200 people, it's impossible. Okay? Another thing to always ask yourself is this: why? Why am I doing this presentation? In Japan, I've also often asked high school teachers and other teachers at the university, they say, our students need to do presentations. Okay, why? What's the purpose? What are they communicating? What's the point of a presentation? It's not good to do presentations if you don't have a purpose. Here's a good reason. Do you have something to share? Something important. If you do, that's 50% of a good presentation already made. Here's another one. If you are interested in the topic, good. You are already 50% of the way to doing a good presentation. Maybe you want to become an established member of some medical community. You want some status in the community. Good, good. That will help you to deliver a better presentation. If you don't have these things, your presentation quality might not be so good. You need these reasons. Now, if you are just filling a requirement, for example, your professor said, go to Singapore, do the presentation at the conference, and you've, oh, okay. And you're only doing it to check a box because your professor told you, probably that presentation will not be so good. At least try to find something that's important, something to be passionate about, and try to establish yourself as a member of the community. Now, I live in Japan. I've seen many presentations, not only in Japan, but in other Asian countries. And sometimes there's a problem. And the problem is this: sometimes people do not distinguish, even teachers do not distinguish between a speech, a lecture, and a presentation. So I'd like you to think for a minute, what is the difference between those three? and I might ask somebody in the audience for their answer, or you can volunteer an answer. But please talk for maybe 1 minute. What's the difference? Okay. Does anybody have any ideas on the differences between these three things? Any volunteer answers? It's okay. I'm used to this in Japan. Nobody. Oh, we have a volunteer answer here. Maybe I can hear you, so please try first. I'm sorry? Oh, there's the mic. Okay.
Test. Okay. So the difference between a speech, lecture, and presentation. A speech, from what I know, is something that is said in a maybe within 5 to 10 minutes, and it's very short and normally conveys a short message or a short notice. Whereas a lecture is mainly to educate, and it's of a longer duration compared to a speech. And as for presentation, it's also to educate, but it implements media such as images or videos. Thank you.
Bingo. Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, speeches are usually ceremonial. So just a few moments ago, Dr. Bellevin introduced me. That's a kind of speech. There's a formula to a speech, and they're ceremonial, so the speaker does not move too much. This is a problem in Japan. I don't know about Indonesia, but in Japan, my students learned speech when they were very young, and so their idea of giving a presentation is confused with the idea of giving a speech. So my students often give presentations like this. Good morning. My name is Taro Yamakawa. Today I'm going to talk to you about, and it's like a ceremonial speech because they're confusing speech and presentation, okay? And as this gentleman said, speeches don't use other media, okay? Presentations almost always use other media, and that affects how we actually present ourselves, okay? It's very different from a speech, okay? A speech focuses upon the words, okay? A presentation is visual and oral, okay? A lecture, as he said, a lecture is a teaching situation and is more a position of authority. I am the teacher, you are the students, and I'm conveying information for you, maybe for a test, something like this, okay? A presentation has a little bit of that a little bit of those qualities. I'm trying to convey something to you, but it's not for a test, and a presenter does not always have authority. Lecturer has authority. So it's rather different, okay? So when we talk about presentations, let's forget speech, let's forget lecture. But I'm going to give you one example of somebody who is a very good speech maker and also a very good presenter. And I'd like you to watch this now. And okay, before we start the video, I think maybe you know this man, Barack Obama. He was president of the United States before Donald Trump. And I think maybe you know him because he was raised for a short time in Indonesia. So he is well known as an excellent speech maker. So I'd like you to watch a few minutes of this clip and then tell me some of the good points of his speaking ability, okay? Why is Obama a good speech maker? Okay.
Or even as we celebrate tonight, we know the challenges that tomorrow will bring are the greatest of our lifetime. I stand here knowing that my story is part of the larger American story, that I owe a debt to all of those who came before me, and that in no other country on earth is my story even possible. I'm the son of a black man from Kenya and a white woman from Kansas. I am married to a black American who carries within her the blood of slaves and slave owners. I have brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, uncles, and cousins of every race and every hue scattered across 3 continents. These people are part of me, and they are part of America, this country that I love. I've come here to Cairo to seek a new beginning between the United States and Muslims around the world, one based on mutual interest and mutual respect. Just as Muslims do not fit a crude stereotype, America is not the crude stereotype of a self-interested empire. To say that force may sometimes...
Okay, you see that I put my mic down, but I believe you can hear me with that. Good. I'm more comfortable without a mic. Okay? So, anybody, you just watched former President Obama give a few speeches. What is he good at? What are his good points? Can you tell me some? Any volunteers? Yes, there's one here.
I think the good point is Obama speech is the icon. When I'm seeing the video, he moves his head around to see to the audience. He doesn't look straightforward, and then I like his body language. He moves his hand around like this, and he caters with the audience. He switches his style with the audience. If, for example, when he speaks with the audience are black people, he says his materials. For example, he says that he is the descendant of slaves of America. Then, yeah, I think that is really something that I can appreciate about Mr. Obama. Thank you.
Okay, good. Yes. Oh, okay. So I will use it. Okay. Okay, I'm back to the microphone for the people watching on Zoom. Okay, many of the points that this gentleman made are quite good. First was the idea of eye contact, but let's be careful. Eye contact sometimes is not suitable in many Asian cultures. Particularly in Japan, my students really try to keep away from eye contact. I recommend instead gaze. So right now I'm looking over here, but I'm not really looking at any one person. Now I'm looking over here, but I'm not really looking at any one person. If you can do that, the audience believes that you are talking directly to them, even though you are not focusing upon any person. So I think gaze might be preferable to traditional eye contact. A little eye contact can be scary, right? Okay, good. Another thing that maybe some of you noticed was Barack Obama looks confident and dignified. His upper body was very controlled and he looked powerful. And he didn't move too much, just a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. He didn't move his hands so much, not so many gestures. A little bit. Sometimes something like this. You can see the gesture with my hand here, but not a lot of gestures, but just enough to emphasize what he is saying. Finally, intonation and pausing. I can't remember his exact words, but he said something like this: I am the son of a black man from Kenya. My mother is a white woman from Kansas. I have brothers and sisters and uncles. So pausing and changing the intonation. And that makes him an excellent speaker. Frankly speaking, much better than Trump or even Biden. Obama is an outstanding public speaker. Okay. Please advance from there. Yeah, okay. Yes, please. Okay. So, presentation. Presentation requires pie. Pie includes 3 parts, you can see. You want to inform your audience, but also you want to persuade them. And maybe a little bit, you want to entertain. Please always remember, presentations need pie. Now, if you're doing an academic or research presentation, maybe the balance is more like this. The entertainment part is much smaller. But you still need something that has entertainment value to attract your audience. The danger of many research presenters is it's just information, 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 information. And it gets boring because there's too much information for the audience. We need to persuade, we need to a little bit entertain. I'm doing a seminar style right now, workshop style, so the balance is closer to this. I'm giving a little more entertainment value and trying to be persuasive rather than giving you a lot of research-based information. So it depends on the kind of presentation that you are doing, but bottom line, pie, pie, pie for presentations. Some of you are making notes. That's good. I will tell you that at the end of this presentation today, I do have handouts of my slides, so you will be able to take home a copy after. Okay? Okay. And okay, next slide. Okay. I'm sure many of you are familiar with TED Talks. Okay, TED Talks are not quite a presentation. It's actually a talk. It's actually a kind of speech, or I might say speech plus. Usually in a TED Talk, there is not any PowerPoint. There might be some visuals, but usually the focus is on the speaker, not so much the visuals. Why? because the speaker is usually somebody who is famous or especially interesting. And that means the speaker has the right to walk around as he or she speaks. Maybe you've seen TED Talks, and the speaker, excuse me for a moment, the speaker might even talk like this as he is or she is speaking to the audience. And usually we think that's not good. Turned his back, he's looking at the ground. For a TED style talk, that's actually okay because the speaker is usually a famous or very interesting person, but that's TED. Most of us are not famous or interesting, so we don't have the right to do that. Maybe when you become a famous doctor and people know your name all over the world, you can do that. But while you're a young doctor, probably not. Okay, so when you do a presentation, everybody, almost everybody, is looking at the screen. They're not looking at you. Speech, everybody's looking at you. Presentation, most people are looking at the screen. Today, maybe 50-50 in my case, but usually research presentation, they're looking at the screen. Because they are looking at the screen, you're not so much a presenter, but you are a narrator now. You're telling a kind of story. And in that case, do you remember in junior high school, maybe your teacher said, when you give a presentation, make eye contact and use gestures. In Japan, as I said, my students don't like eye contact, and Japanese don't use many gestures at all, and they're really uncomfortable, and they do too many. They look like Italians. So because you're now a narrator, the voice is the important part. Whoops, second. Okay, so the voice becomes the most important part. And as the gentleman here said earlier, the clarity of the voice and the intonation becomes much more important, even more than beautiful slides. Now, the audience is not looking at you so much, but still your body is important. And especially in terms of posture and positioning. And first, when you are introduced from the audience, that is extremely important. I'm going to show you. I'll put the mic down. I'll pick it up again in a moment. Our next speaker, Michael Guest. Good morning. Thank you. Okay, what I tried to show there was a walk that is confident. So that when you look at me, you think, maybe this guy is a professional. Maybe this guy looks intelligent. You want to look intelligent. You are intelligent, I know, but you're at a good university. You're in the field of medicine. You are intelligent. You want to look intelligent. And that means having control of your body as you get to the position on the stage. Okay, so your body is important. And where are the keys? Now, if you are too tight like this, the audience is also tight. So if I give a 15-minute presentation like this and my shoulders are very tight, the audience feels nervous and uncomfortable. So what do we do? Here are the keys. The first key is in the butt, the bum. I'll show you. I'm not going to show you, but. Okay. For example, as I speak now, you can see I'm talking to this side of the room for a few seconds, and then I'm going to shift to this side of the room for a few seconds. And then maybe I shift towards the middle. So you can see, look at my legs and my butt, like this. Now, I don't know Indonesia so well, but I can tell you in Japan, my students have big trouble with that. I tell them, just shift. It's like a dance, right? Like a dance. But most of my Japanese students like this, because they were taught that if you're giving a presentation, it's like a speech. You shouldn't do this with the leg looking casual. But this helps your whole body to relax, and it allows you to look at both sides of the audience. So I suggest you practice it. Not now. Okay, not right now. Okay? Hands. Hands are also important. Right now I have a microphone, so I can't do much with my hands, but it's important to find a comfortable place for your hands. And I'll show you a few uncomfortable places. Zoom people, you can watch. This is not comfortable. 1 minute, okay. Army, army, military style, okay? Always try to find a position for your hands that is comfortable for you. So right now, I'm just using very small gestures like this for emphasis, okay? What happens if you don't control your hands? Do you know? You are nervous? That happens. Scratching, rubbing, doesn't look good, okay? So having control of your hands is extremely important. Okay. Here's a good practice, and I'd like you to try it with somebody next to you in a minute. This is what I have my students do when we do a presentation course. Something like this, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you breathe between each part. One more time, and I will shift my body. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, you are very close together. It's very hard to move right now. But as much as you can, maybe try it with a partner. Focus on the voice too. Remember to breathe and divide it into 3 sections. When you finish, wait 3 seconds. Then your partner will do it, okay? So go ahead, practice for a minute. I won't breathe.
Yeah. So they have to stand up?
No, they can do it sitting down like that.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's practical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually with the smaller group, I have some of them come up and model. Okay, good. Normally, when I do presentation teaching, it's a smaller group and I have each student come up and try this exercise. I don't think I will do it with 200 people, okay? But it's a good practice for yourself. And one of the keys is when you finish at 9, hold your position for 3 seconds. That's hard to do when you are nervous. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Hold that position. Okay? Many students or presenters who aren't good do this. 7, 8, 9. And they lose the physical power. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I'm having a little trouble with this. I'm sorry. But earlier, pronunciation was mentioned. And how important is pronunciation? I have some strong opinions about that. You know what? You are Indonesian. You have an Indonesian accent. So what? Of course you have an Indonesian accent. There is no reason you should try to sound like me. Koreans sound Korean when they speak English. Japanese sound Japanese. Vietnamese sound Vietnamese. So you sound Indonesian, you have an Indonesian accent. So what? The world is inclusive now, okay? You don't have to sound like an American or a British person. Instead of fixing your pronunciation, I recommend that you be careful about individual words in your presentation. So maybe there are a few words you're not sure how to pronounce. You can check those. But don't try to improve or sound like somebody who you are not. I have been to many conferences all over Asia, speakers from 50 or 60 different countries. It's normal, it's natural to hear accented English. So don't worry too much, okay? You are Indonesian, you sound Indonesian, great. Okay, another thing. Physical control of the speaking area. You know, right now, I have a very large stage to work with. It's much larger than the usual presentation place. Most presentation places have a small desk like that. And you have to be really careful about where your computer is, maybe where your laser is, where the microphone is, where the wires are. If you see here, there's a wire on the floor, and if you're not careful, it's very easy to trip. Okay? So I recommend this. If you are giving a presentation at a conference, go into the room before the first presentation of the day and check the system. Check the spacing. Do you have room to put everything down? Do you know exactly where everything is? Because you will be nervous. And when you are nervous, your fingers shake and you make mistakes. Okay? So, also, maybe you don't need a microphone. Right now I need it because of Zoom, but I don't really like microphones. Okay? Because my hands are controlled. Okay? Do you need a laser? Maybe not. Okay, here's my criticism of many presentations, especially research presentations. The people love lasers, and they do the circle thing with the laser all around, and you don't know what they are pointing to. It looks like a disco or club. Yeah, everybody dance now. And Why are they doing that? It hurts your eyes. So maybe you don't need a laser. Okay? Okay, I need help again, thanks. Okay. Okay, how to open your presentation. Okay, here is a typical title slide. I do not understand this content. I just copied it from the internet. As you can see, this is highly professional medical. I don't know what it means, but it's a typical title. Okay, so we have Dr. Taro Yamada, and his information is there. So, what can he do to start the presentation? What's a good way to start a presentation? And what's a good way, or a bad way to start a presentation? Just think about it for a few seconds. What do you think is a good way to start and a bad way to start? Okay. After observing maybe thousands of presentations in my life, this is my advice. Not good. Why is it not good? The chairperson has already introduced you. They've said your name, they've said your university or hospital affiliation, and they've said the title. Now you're just repeating the same information for the audience. The audience is thinking, you're not considering our feelings. You're just like a robot now. So, please don't do this. Okay? It's redundant. Okay. Is your English perfect? Probably not. That's okay. That's fine. Your English is good. It's probably not perfect. Even my English is not perfect. Don't apologize for your English. Oh, my English is so bad. I'm sorry for my broken English. No. Most people at international conferences in Asia, at least, and in many countries, are non-native speakers of English. Most of the audience will also be, like you, non-native speakers of English. Don't apologize for it. Okay? You're a non-native speaker of English. You might make some mistakes. So what? Okay? And if you are nervous, don't tell the audience. Good morning, everybody. I'm really nervous today. Oh boy. Oh. That makes the audience nervous also. They become nervous for you. Okay? So let's avoid that. Now this one, so-so. Hi, everybody. Sounds like a party a little bit, but maybe friendly, but I'm not sure. Or, hi everybody, this is my first time in Seoul. Okay, very personal, friendly, but also it sounds like a comedy routine a little bit, doesn't it? There's a comedy show. Hey, this is my first time in Seoul. You know, yesterday I was out eating, you know, like this. So those ones I say, so-so. Here are better openings. Always do this, always. Never forget that. Okay, give a topic sentence, but not the title. Okay, change the title into a topic. So if you're talking about ophthalmology, macular degeneration, and you have a very long title, today I'd like to talk about a common problem that is occurring more and more, macular degeneration, like this, okay? So you adjust the title. Conferences have themes. Connect your opening to the theme of the conference, or maybe famous speakers. Earlier today, the famous Dr. Garcia from Sorbonne University in France gave a big speech, and you can connect to that. For example, good morning. Earlier today, Dr. Garcia told us in his plenary speech, like that, okay? So you can refer to the famous or well-known speakers. I like this one, my favorite. Go right into it. Go right into it. Start directly with the background. Good morning. Go into your research. Audience wants to hear your research. Go ahead. Okay. Here are more. This first one makes a connection with the audience. I'm a doctor, you're a doctor, so as most of you know, so you start with the known, and next you will move to the unknown or the new content. But start with the shared or known content. Begin with a question, research question. So then you're going from the question to the answer. The audience is interested. Oh, good question. What's the answer? They're listening. Do you want to surprise or challenge your audience? I suggest this. It is often said that you're going to challenge the standard or conventional view. The audience is listening now. Oh, something different. And sometimes shock value. This is not true, but it has shock value. But in the medical field, you could say, for example, that every year 300 teenagers die from drinking excessively, or something like this. And it has a shock value on your audience. Okay, I'm going to shift now to something maybe you are all concerned with, and that's grammar. Grammar in the presentation. Ooh, it's a little scary, right? When you are nervous, maybe your grammar starts to fall apart. But I want to show you something. Please look here. Those yellow sentences were actually said by speakers, non-native English speakers at medical conferences. And these were good speakers and often famous speakers. But each one, there's a grammatical mistake. Now, you can talk to your friend or your partner. Can you find the grammatical mistake in each of these sentences? Yes. Okay, I'm gonna have to speed up or something. Yeah, okay. I said I might go a little bit over time, so yeah, please allow that. Thanks. Okay, thanks. I'll keep that in mind and try to keep it. Okay, thanks. Okay. Because of time, I'm going to show you the answers here. There's the first one, the. Always a problem, right? There's the second one, using plurals, S. Same here, using few and versus some. Okay, preposition, with, of. Sentence order. Okay, so maybe now you're thinking, but Michael, why are you telling us this now? I'm telling you because the missing grammar had no impact on the research presentation. Their presentations were good. They missed the grammatical points. Nobody cared. Nobody cared in the audience. These were famous speakers, okay? And here are other examples. So when you are giving a presentation, please don't worry too much about the and prepositions and so forth, okay? Usually they do not have an impact on the presentation. However, when you are writing on your slides, different story. When you make a slide, a PowerPoint slide, you need to be careful or else you don't look professional. You can see here there are 15 mistakes. If you look quickly, maybe you can find some of them. So on the slide, this is important. Okay, because of time, I'm going to show you the answers here. The yellow parts show all the mistakes. There were no grammar mistakes. Okay, most of it is formatting, punctuation, and also suddenly changing the font or changing the spacing and having inconsistent spacing. Maybe if you do that, it doesn't look so professional to the audience. So PowerPoint slides, yes, be careful of details. In your actual speaking, you can make mistakes and often nobody will notice. Okay. You will write research papers in the future, and research paper is not a presentation. Maybe you know this. Some people, they wrote a research paper, then they give a presentation, and they just read their research paper. They put it on the slide and just read the slide. No impact, no impact. Presentation is not a research paper, okay? So I'm going to give you some warnings about writing or giving presentations, but not sounding like a research paper. Number one, presentation, you don't always need an outline, okay? Research paper, you need it. It's too formal. Much better. Oops, I'm sorry. Good. The last one, you just point to the PowerPoint slide and say, oh, this is how I'll be proceeding today. And let them read it. Let your audience read the PowerPoint slide. Okay? Okay. Here, you can see there's too much on the slide, too much information. Nobody can read it. Nobody can take it all in. So, prioritize and summarize. Oh, much better. This is much better. Just enough on the slide, okay? Again, don't read it to your audience. You can just say, here is my research background. and give the audience 10, 15 seconds to read it. Then you can relax. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, don't just copy and paste your research paper paragraphs like this. Instead, use this style to highlight the most important points. Okay? Don't use long paragraphs in your presentation. Also, try to paraphrase the content on the slide. So on the slide, for example, it says this in blue. Okay, so what should you do? Don't just read it, paraphrase it. Ta-da. So as you can see, we had a variety of different subjects. Okay, so what you say is not exactly what's on the screen. Okay, if you read from the slide, it should only be because of this emphasis. My next point, you can read it. Okay, I'm going to show you now something one of professors at my university actually said. On his PowerPoint slide, there was the blue part. So you can see, very simple. But what he said was this. Oh no. The information is really simple, 25% increase, but he talked around it for a long time. It's wasting everybody's time. Okay? Instead, he should have just said, here is the result, and then look at the screen. History, background, lots of references. In your research paper, yes. In your slides, no. Okay, so, right. This is not useful for your presentations. This is what you write in a research paper. Okay, look at my graph here, my statistics. Look at it. Okay, now maybe I have done this research for 5 years, and here is my result. I'm going to show you this at a conference for 2 seconds. Can you understand it? No, you can't. It's a mess. So please be very, very careful with your charts and graphs. The audience has only 3 or 4 seconds to understand it. So please be very, very clear. Okay, you can highlight maybe. Pacing is a problem too. If it's not well paced, what happens when the pace is bad? You look and say, oh, there's only 2 minutes left in my presentation, and I have 30 slides left. Gah! So then you have to hurry everything or skip something. Why does that happen? This is why. To be honest, I'm feeling this right now because I am behind time. It is 11:30, and I would like to ask for 10 minutes more of your listening, and then we'll move to question and answer. Okay? Okay, animation. Some professionals say, oh, you shouldn't use animation in a formal presentation. It's not manga, it's not television, it's a professional presentation, but it's often much better to use animation so that you can surprise the audience. So animation is good, but not like that, not too fancy, okay? Okay. Here's an important point from today for you, okay? Please remember this. A presentation is not telling your data. It's not just telling people your research data. A presentation is the story of your research. So try to think of your presentation as a kind of storytelling. This means you have to be very careful with how you transition from one slide to the next slide. Bad presenters often do this. Slide. So, and no impact or low impact. Transitions, okay? They don't have any meaning usually. Okay, or just saying summary, conclusion, low impact. Also, I bet you don't like this. The speaker says something like, for example, new slide comes on. Right? It's annoying, right? So you should always know what your next word or phrase is. So transition phrases are really important. Learn them in English. I ask you, please learn how to use transition phrases like these in English. Don't just use next, 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 next. Okay? This will make your presentation more dynamic. You get the copy of the slides later, so you can see my list later. You don't have to write it now, okay? Okay, if you use good transition phrases, they actually impact your intonation. And intonation is really important. Not pronunciation, intonation. So if you say next, 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 your voice becomes very flat, there's no dynamics, everybody becomes bored because you're keeping the same tone, next, next. If you use a good transitional phrase, you naturally start to have more dynamics, you breathe better, the audience can understand you better. And you can also use silence sometimes. Okay, we have just a few minutes left, about 4 or 5 minutes, I believe. I could talk a lot about question and answer, and this probably makes you most nervous when you're doing a presentation, right? The chairman says, okay, now it's question and answer time, and you think, oh no, because maybe you won't understand the question from the audience member. So I'll just give you a few hints here, okay? Here's something. Most people who ask a question at a conference don't really want to ask a question. Strange. They want the microphone. They love the microphone. They want to give an opinion, usually. Let them give an opinion. You don't have to answer it. Most people don't start with a question. So why did you perform this particular measurement? No, most people usually give a comment or some background first. Be prepared for it. Many questions are poorly formed, including native speaker questions. If the question is not clear, it's not your fault as a presenter. It's the audience member's fault. Sorry, the question wasn't clear. Could you summarize it for me? And don't be embarrassed if you don't understand what they say. Sometimes I don't know what the person said in the audience. Okay, so don't be embarrassed if there's a misunderstanding. Oh no, my English is so bad. No. Negotiate it. Okay, so question and answer is a dialogue. It's not a test. So there are many strategies that you can use, and they will be on your print that you will get after the presentation today. So right now, I'm going to do this very quickly. Okay. Just a moment. Okay, here's the first strategy: admitting something, appeasement. I would like to do this slower, but because of time, I can't. I'm sorry. Avoidance. Clarification. Again, you'll have the slide copies later, so you can look at this by yourself. Confirmation. Elaboration. Reformulation. Renegotiation. And returning the question. All of these are strategies that you can use when managing a question and answer session, and you can see some examples there. Okay? Finally, okay, 1 minute, closing. How do you close a presentation? You want to leave with a strong impact. Okay, not good. This is not good. Okay. Okay. I'm going to read this so you catch the impact. Which therefore required an endoscopy. An endoscopy. Yeah. So, yeah, we did that endoscopy. Impact died. Okay? So please know what your last word will be, and don't use a throwaway closing like this. Be very careful. When you are nervous, it's easy to make this mistake. And don't finish by saying, finished. Okay? Japanese students do that. That's all. Doesn't work. Okay? Don't just say conclusion. Don't show your reference list as a final slide. So how do we finish a presentation? Here are some good ideas. One, always use a resolving tone. What is a resolving tone? Like this. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Michael. Happy birthday to you. It's not finished. So, happy birthday to you. That's a resolving tone. So when you finish your presentation, you might want to finish something like this. And always at the end, the best closing words are thank you for your attention. Okay, I'm sorry I kept you a little longer, but thank you so much for listening all this time. So thank you. And now I believe we really have a question and answer session. Okay.
Thank you, Prof. Gas, for the informative and interesting discussions, but we have to take a break for a while because of the prayer call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because the starting is so maybe yeah, your attention, please. Very well, students, ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the next sessions, that is question and answer sessions. Because our time is very limited, then there will be possibly about three questions. Don't forget to raise your hand and mention your name before you ask questions. Now, anyone, is there any questions? Yes, go ahead. Mention your name first. Would you please stand up?
Good evening. My name is Samael Alfishar Priyadi from Class B. My friends usually call me by Mayo. Yes, it's a very weird name, but I go by Mayo. I want to ask a question that's generally I'm personally confused with because I myself has a lot of experience in public speaking, especially in like debate competitions, and also I do presentations a lot in my class. And one of the things that is a very you can sort of say it's a pet peeve for me. It's a very annoying thing for me to happen during my presentation is that how do I manage or how do I deal with an uncooperative audience, like the audience that they should listen because it's also beneficial for them, but they don't. And sometimes as a presenter, I need them to engage with what I'm telling them because it's like it could be related to my research, it could be related to something else. And how can I deal with it? Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the question. So he asked about an uncooperative audience. I think as a speaker, you cannot control the audience. You can only control yourself. So as you are speaking, if you find the audience is starting to check their iPhones, or they're starting to fall asleep, or they're not paying attention, you really have to ask yourself, why? What are you doing wrong in that case? Now, to get their attention again, you probably have to change your intonation and your pacing, and maybe move to a new section of your presentation. If people are starting to get sleepy, don't continue in the same way. It's your job to engage the audience. And if they are not cooperating, you can only look at yourself and say, what am I doing wrong here? Okay? And even before you speak, if you have a topic which you know is meaningful and relevant and interesting to your audience, that's 50% of the fight. They will or they should be interested. If you haven't chosen your topic or the content carefully, and you're just giving a presentation because you have to, probably they will not be interested and they will lose interest. Okay? Thank you for your question.
Thank you for the questions. And yeah, that was interesting questions about an cooperative audience. Well, the next questions. Anyone, please? Yes. Mention your name first.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Adeline Anindita, and I am from Class C. I want to ask, I noticed that in today's seminar, that your way of speaking is quite slow and you emphasize on words. Is it your personal style or is it something you choose specifically for this speaking for today? Thank you.
Check my understanding of your question. You said I started slowly and then emphasized after that?
I mean, um, wait. When you talk, in today's, I noticed that it was quite slow when I compare it with, let's say, other lecturers when they talk. Is it your personal style or is it, okay.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I was speaking rather slowly because I want to be inclusive. And because the audience here are not native speakers, some of you are very, very good at English and you could manage a faster speed, but not all of you. So when doing that, I recognize that the audience are not native English speakers. I do not simplify the language so much, but I am careful in the words that I use and how I express them. And so that makes it a little bit slower. But I think everybody, well, maybe not everybody, but many members of the audience are happier with that because they can understand everything that I'm saying. So it's for clarity, okay? And I think respect for a non-native audience means that you adjust your speed. I did not use native-like idioms or colloquialisms so much today because you may not be familiar with those. However, I didn't change my English into childlike English. I would never do that. I know you're intelligent. I know you're good at English. But just to make everybody feel included and to keep your attention. Okay?
Yeah, so naturally, Prof. Guest doesn't use that slow pace. Just for the purpose of this seminar, to make the ideas better understood by the audience. Yeah.
Yes, conveying the ideas is the most important. And especially if there are some students who don't have so much confidence in English, if I go at a faster pace, those students will lose attention and they might get sleepy and not learn anything. So I'm trying to think of those students.
Yes, thank you. That's very thoughtful. Now, another questions? Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, Professor Guest. I would like to ask a question regarding the.
Excuse me,
Sorry?
your name, please?
Oh, sorry. Let me introduce myself beforehand. My name is Uma. And I would like to ask a question regarding the gesture, the part about the gesture where you told us previously, where it is important to look confident when you are approaching your audience, when you are approaching the stage. There has been a situation in the past where I had to share my research paper to people who are more experienced than me. And a lot of Indonesian culture really focuses on how to be respectful to your audience. So we're not really taught to be confident when we are presenting something. So maybe you could give us some tips regarding that. Thank you for your time.
Yes, this is also true in Japan. As you know, the Japanese are very conscious of respect levels and seniors and juniors and so forth. Here's a problem that I've noticed with some of my Japanese students and professors. When they go on the stage at an international conference, they come in like this. It's a, すみません。すみません。失礼します。And in Japan, that might look humble. But in an international conference, people might be thinking, why are you doing that? Now, Indonesian people don't do it as much, right? I understand that. You want to look confident because you are a highly trained professional, you're an intelligent person, but you don't want to look overly confident. So when I recommend walking in, I think your body should show some power, but also you can use small bowing gestures. And of course, not too many strong gestures. If your audience includes professors and senior doctors, you might want to hold back a little bit on strong gestures. But still, looking confident does not mean looking arrogant, right? And I think Indonesian people are generally quite good at this, that at presentations, they can look confident and intelligent, but not looking arrogant. And maybe it's Western people who have to be careful about looking too arrogant when they make a presentation. So generally, I think it's not much of a problem for average Southeast Asian person. Okay, in Japan, it is too much of a problem because there's too much like this. Okay, so you can show respect to your audience occasionally, just slight gestures like this, perhaps, and maybe control the arms more and more. Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, one more question from audience on Zoom.
In the Zoom meeting. Okay. So this question is from Dr. Yulia Dwi Setia, and currently she is studying in Miyazaki University. Yulia Dwi Setia. Yeah. Okay. So this is the question. How to explain with elegant way that our research still have no data about it, or sometimes we make mistakes, like technical issue that causing our result not good.
We show, how do we express in an elegant way that maybe we don't have enough data, or there has been some mistake in the data process, or something like that, some weakness. I have a very clear answer for that. Admit it. Admit it, and that's part of the learning process. If you made some mistake or there was some problem in your research or in your data, the audience learns from that. If you say, we tried to do this, we didn't get the results we expected, there were some problems with this, and unfortunately we are unsure about this, good, that's part of the story. You're telling your research story. And the audience can learn something. Oh, they had the same problem as us. Oh, I didn't expect that would happen. We have to be careful now. So be honest and admit it. And then you look humble too, which other researchers will appreciate, because you are being very honest about your research, and that's always special. So admit that you have some weakness or some shortcoming. Everybody does, and I think others will be quite happy to hear it. You won't look lower to them because of you admitting that you have a weak point. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Right. So now we come to the end of our event now. So just to sum up from what has already explained by Prof. Gas. So first of all, we need to find a good reason for doing presentations so that you will be more motivated. And then please remember about PI, presentations, informations, and entertainment, the proportion of PI. Find good and comfortable posture and gesture when you are doing doing presentations. And about language, don't worry about Indonesian accent. Your English is fine. For grammatical mistakes are normal in presentations, but when writing the slides, please be careful. Finally, rephrase the slides. Do not just copy from books. Try to explain what the slide is to the audience. Well, that sums up our discussions and presentations today. Thank you very much, Professor Michael Guest, for the enlightening and informative presentations. And also thank you to the audience for your active participations. Hopefully the presentations will be beneficial for everybody. Now I leave it to Olivia as the MC in charge for these sessions. Good afternoon. Now it's afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All right. Thank you very much to Professor Mike for the remarkable presentation. I believe the audience, personally myself too, gained abundant insight on conference presentation skills. I would like to thank Mr. Belevin also for the moderator for today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to inform you that we are still having the second lecture, which will be conducted tomorrow, 8 March 2023 at 9 to 12 through Zoom meeting and also Gaha Medica. We are expecting you to come, especially the lecturers and graduate students of Faculty of Medicine, Brawijaya University. Hopefully, this is not a one-time agenda, especially for Professor Mike to come here to give the lecture. We hope there will be another opportunity to welcome you to our faculty. Last but not least, allow me, Alafia, to close today's event. Thank you very much, professors, doctors, and students of Faculty of Medicine. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon.